Hey there everyone, welcome back to my channel. Now I haven't been able to do any Opera Omnia videos for a little while because I've actually been away for a little while, and with Opus 8 coming out for TCG and everything, it's all been a bit of a whirlwind, but I am back on the Opera Omnia train now, and we've just had the calendar revealed for April, and I wanted to go over some of the events that we're going to be getting to come out for Dissidia Opera Omnia with you guys, and go over kind of some recommendations as to what you may or may not want to be pulling for. So if you want to have a look at those events and the characters that are being featured, then stay tuned and keep on watching. As always, don't forget to check all the social links in the description box below, including my Patreon, my Twitch, and my Discord, where we discuss Opera Omnia, the TCG, and all sorts of Final Fantasy goodness, so definitely come and check us out there. Now, the first thing that we're going to be getting this month is actually going to be starting at the end of March, which is going to be another batch of Crystal Awakenings, and this time around we have Edge, Galuf, Eiko, Seymour, Balthier, Vanille, and King. And by the looks of the preview video that we saw, then we're going to be getting a Seymour's EX as well. Now, it's unusual that we only get one EX during these banners, as we usually get two, but there was only one shown in the preview video. So maybe there might be a little bit of a surprise when it comes to an EX. Maybe they're bringing somebody forward, like, you know, maybe Faris or Ash or something like that. So maybe they're bringing somebody forward in order to please us global players, or maybe there is just one EX, we don't know. But going over the characters themselves and seeing what kind of things that we have to expect to take into the Heretic quest that will be joining them, Edge is still not great, unfortunately. He's good for dodging a singular attack. He gains HP attacks on the end of all of his abilities, and that's very, very useful. But generally speaking, there are just much better characters, and when it comes to damage dealers, there are infinitely better characters, some of which are even within this banner. And then Galuf, I actually think is very, very strong as an Awakening potential target, especially if you don't have access to Warrior of Light's EX or anything like that, because his Blade Block counter now triggers an HP attack as well as a Bravery attack when he is able to trigger it, so dodge an attack and Bravery hit and then HP hit, which is really good. And his block also raises his Bravery, then triggers an HP attack. There's a lot of nice things going on for Galuf, so if you don't have access to Warrior of Light, he's definitely a character I would recommend. Eiko is a bit of an anomaly. She was amazing in the early stages of Opera Omnia, and she lasted for an absolutely godly length of time. But her 60/60 Awakening is okay. It's pretty good. She gets a lot of longevity out of it if you happen to have her weapons already. Her Smite also triggers an HP attack, which means that you're progressing the game further, and that's really nice. And then she gets a Bravery attack plus, which is basically what her Smite already does. It grants Bravery to your party members in addition to herself. So that's actually a really, really nice point of longevity, but there are characters that have Brave HP attacks that do fairly similar things, such as Beatrix's HP attack plus grants Bravery, not as much obviously, but it does grant Bravery across the board. And so there's that to kind of bear in mind when it comes to Eiko. Her HP regen ability, however, will also, you know, give her an HP attack plus that recovers everybody's HP, and that's actually really nice if you consider that you're already getting the HP regen stack. It means that if you're against a boss that likes to throw out HP attacks really frequently, then maybe Eiko would be worth considering for that. Seymour is also a bit of an anomaly. He's a bit of a weird one because he was always very unfavourably compared to Tidus when he first came out, and those comparisons haven't quite gone away with his Awakening and even with his EX, because while he gets some really nice little spicy techs, like when he uses Lance of Atrophy, if the opponent's health is under 50%, he gets to use Chainspell for free straight after, and Chainspell can trigger HP attacks if it hits a certain threshold of Bravery, so that you can get that kind of 1-2 punch with him. However, his EX is really, really powerful in terms of the Bravery damage it can deal, but as opposed to Tidus's EX, which deals the full 100% worth of HP damage across the board to all targets, Seymour's is divided equally, much like, you know, much like Cloud's Meteor Rain. You know, it divides damage equally like that. And coming this far into EXs, I think that that's a little lackluster, but it does do extra damage to debuff targets. The debuffs that he inflicts are slightly stronger, so maybe if you're wanting somebody specifically for debuffing, then Seymour's going to be for you. And if you happen to pull his EX, then there is no reason not to awaken him. Just to say that he's kind of compared unfavourably to certain other characters certainly doesn't mean he's bad, and as a villain, he's a character that I really like, so I tend to kind of go for all the villains, so we'll have to see how he performs in the future. King is basically more of the same of what he already was, which was just a quick and easy single target DPS character that uses reload and now uses an HP attack after reload, so he's not wasting a turn in using it, but all he's going to do after that is just rapid bullets continuously until the target's dead or he runs out of uses and he has to reload again. So honestly, King is just kind of more of the same. There's nothing wrong with him, but there's nothing particularly amazing about him either. Now, Vanille and Balthier are kind of characters that fulfill a similar role when it comes to team building, and it's that they like to dispel units or, you know, in Balthier's case, steal buffs from things. But I think in this case, Vanille has a slight edge over Balthier because, I mean, I'll show you on the screen what Balthier's DissidiaDB.com page looks like, and his 55 and 60 passives are wordy. So, you know, check out everything in there instead of me rambling it all off. But at the end of the day, I just think that Balthier kind of has to set up way too long to get a realistic momentum going, whereas Vanille has an AoE, if you have a weapons at least, has an AoE Dispel, which is actually very, very powerful. There are so many bosses that really don't like being dispelled very much, especially if you can get rid of like mass buffs across multiple targets. The Deuce EX can be a real pain in the butt, so if you know, if you can get rid of those buffs really easily, then that's really, really nice in and of itself. But I do think that Balthier has a lot of fans out there, so if you really like him, then there is a good reason to sort of try and go for his awakening and get his weapons. If he and Vanille happen to be on the same half of the banner for this particular awakening batch, then I think that would be really, really nice, because I'm actually lacking a Dispeller at all in terms of weapon slots. I don't have Faris, I don't have Vanille, I don't have Balthier, and so therefore I have no kind of Dispel really, and I've been struggling to find one, so I'm hoping to get one of them. But honestly, if you have Faris, I can actually suggest dodging both of these altogether, because you kind of already have somebody to fill that space in a role or in a team. So if I were to pick one of the two, I would prefer to play Vanille. A little extra thing that we're getting this month as well, just on the tail end of the month to go in along with the Awakening batch, is a Cactuar quest. And Cactuars are going to be really helpful for anyone who's still leveling a lot of their characters, want to get their rank up, because they give you an absolute butt ton of XP. And being able to farm these for quests that give armor and power tokens is always going to be helpful, because for me, power tokens are actually very, very important. Because if you happen to pull a character's EX on any given banner and not, say, their 35 CP weapon, then you can just fill in the gap using power tokens, and I personally think that that is the best use for them. Armor tokens are going to be really, really useful like for a long time. There's armor that's out now, and there's armor that's going to come out in the future that's more expensive in terms of armor tokens, that has even bigger stats and even bigger CP threshold. So getting hold of these is going to be really important for all of us, and honestly, you could, if you just have time to do 5 dailies in a day, doing 5 of these actually isn't going to be the worst thing for you, just because you're guaranteed to get at least one Cactuar every time you fight this, so the XP is going to skyrocket, and if you can get some, you know, book a training on there or anything, your rank will be up there in no time. In terms of the character events this month, there actually isn't an awful lot going on for April. We have 2 Lost Chapter characters in Maria and Parlem, but the main character that we're getting this month that's new is going to be Agrias on April the 8th. Now, Agrias has actually been waited on for quite a long time by a lot of players, so I know that a lot of people are very excited for her, and I'm actually probably considering pulling at least a couple of times to try and get her stuff, because she is very, very cool. She's kind of what you would imagine if Beatrix and Cloud had a very, very beautiful knightly baby. She has the ability to inflict paralysis like Cross Slash does, and you know, and the probability for that to happen increases if you have the correct weapon for it. But she also can give herself extra buffs, and that changes her attacks so that they can deal AoE damage. But the most nice thing about her as well is that her EX weapon gives her an AoE, a Brave HP attack, that, like Tidus, does 100% of the damage to all targets. So if you kind of imagine Clim Hazard but doing extra HP damage to everything and being able to HP regen, I can just see Agrias and Beatrix together being an absolute force to be reckoned with, because they both do similar things, but their framed buffs are differently named, which means they're going to stack, and that's actually going to be a really, really nice thing to pull on. Much like many of the other characters in Lost Chapters, Maria and Parlem kind of get brought up to speed when it comes to their EX weapons, but honestly they're nothing particularly special. Maria's triggers a debuff that steals bravery at the end of every turn, which is nice, and she, you know, she was kind of the OG for AoE Brave HP damage, so she's still going to be able to do that, but she doesn't do it in such a spectacular fashion as some of the other characters that we've seen. And Parlem kind of gets well, actually Palom can be a very, very strong farming unit, like, you know, Setzer or Squall or anything like that, because his Dissidia's Ice Crystal can do increasingly more damage to other members of your opposing party, depending on how many times you've used it and what ranking it's gotten itself to. And his EX kind of extends all of his own buffs for a little while longer, so it very much drastically increases his longevity. But if it were me, I wouldn't necessarily pull for these. I liken this to something like Kayn. Or if you really like that character, then yeah, sure, go for it and pull for those characters. But if you're pulling for meta, I think that we're at the tail end of kind of the spring meta, and when we get things like Kuja, Quistis, etc., Paladin, Cecil, things like that, I think there are better things to be pulling on. Even within this month, I think that if you're going to be pulling on anything, it should be Agrias and then the second Awakening batch that I'll be discussing just now. Now, the thing that I'm personally most invested in when it comes to this month is going to be the second and final Awakening banner. So obviously this isn't final because we've got level 70s, we've got loads of other characters coming that are getting extra Awakenings, but this is the final Awakening batch. But we're going to get Lightning EX along with this, and Lightning is a character that I really, really love, and Lightning will also very, very obviously get her Goddess of Etro outfit, which I absolutely must have. But my philosophy with this game is to not pay for costumes unless the game is nice enough to give me the EX that goes with it. So I didn't buy Varn's EX. As a matter of fact, throughout the entirety of March I pulled precisely 0 EXs. It wasn't the nicest month for me when it came to this game. However, I'm hoping that Agrias and Lightning are a lot nicer to me, and I hope that they're nicer to you guys too. However, what's interesting is the fact that the Awakening banner is blurred out, but we can assume that there's going to be characters in there. There's going to be Yuffie, Saz, Yang, Raijin, and then we're probably going to see Lilith, who is going to be a very, very worthwhile character to awaken if you want extra support characters in the similar sort of vein to Deuce or Kate Sith or Selphie or something along those lines. I can't imagine that Saz is going to get back to the God Emperor Saz kind of status he had when his 35 got released ridiculously early, and honestly none of these characters, except maybe Lilith, are going to set the world on fire, but it's nice to have them. And again, we're only seeing one even hint at the fact that we're going to get Lightning's EX. So usually there's 2 EXs that go on these banners, so I'm very, very curious to see as to whether there's going to be some sort of surprise that comes with this banner, or whether it's just going to be Lightning, and whether I'm going to end up spunking all of my gems on her and not getting her stuff. And then the last thing that is happening this month in terms of gameplay that's very, very important is the introduction of the Eidojas. Now, Eidojas are artifacts much in a similar vein to Eidoja, but obviously they're slightly more upgraded. Now what they are is something that can make an increased chance of the 2-star or orange passives that come with, you know, various different abilities on various different characters, like. And this is really important because the number of characters that require really good passives is something that I think is very much overlooked by a lot of players. Like anyone like Selphie and her Life of Trabia passive, or Noctis and his Will of the Prince, anything that is a party-wide buff should be absolutely prioritized with this kind of thing. But let's face facts, if there's anything dull to do in Opera Omnia, it's artifact farming. Artifact farming can be a real drag, so hopefully Eidojas are slightly easier to get during these spring hunt events that are happening throughout the month, and hopefully we'll get some really nice stuff from that. Now, artifact hunting and artifact farming and what artifacts are is something I get asked an awful lot when it comes to my Opera Omnia videos, so I shall probably make a video specifically for this when the Eidoja Spring Hunt starts to come around. So if you want to know a little bit more about that, then definitely sound off in the comments below and let me know what you guys think. So that's going to be it for this video in terms of the various different things that are going to be happening throughout April for Opera Omnia. Personally, I shall probably be pulling at least a little bit on Agrias because I think she's really cool and I think she pairs off perfectly with my Queen Bee, and I can't ignore that. And I will more than likely end up spending some gems on Lightning's EX to try and get her stuff. I would consider Seymour, but I already have Tidus, who kind of does a similar kind of thing with his debuffs, and I mean, they are more separated than they were originally, so if you want something that's a bit slower, but the debuffs are stronger, then go for Seymour. If you want someone that's quicker and a bit more damage dealy, then go with Tidus. But I honestly just kind of want to see where the game is going from this point onwards. We don't get a Kuja Lost chapter, which kind of made me a little bit sad because I was hoping we'd get it early like we got Kuja himself early, though I do understand that he is kind of the first step in the next meta, so it might be a bit busted to release him early. you know, and that's going to be it. So hopefully there'll be loads of luck for you guys, and hopefully there'll be a little bit more luck for me this time round when it comes to this month. So let me know what you guys are going to be pulling for, whether you disagree with any of the things that I've said on this video and you want to sound off in the comments below and tell me that I'm wrong, and you love that certain characters like Palom or Maria, and then let me know why, because I'd love to hear from you guys. Thanks very much for watching, and I hope you guys have been enjoying Opera Omnia as much as I have. And as I said before, don't forget to check all the social media links in the description box below, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thanks again. I'll see you soon. Bye.